Everybody put 3 fingers in the air. The sky's falling, the wind is calling, stand for something or die in the morning. Section 80, high power.
Get that. All right, cool.
Alrighty, we are live.
We are live.
Welcome, brother. Thank you for joining us on our pod. I'm happy to be in front of a celebrity. And
I wouldn't go that far, but I appreciate the kind words and the big musical introduction.
And for everyone who doesn't know him, this is Alan Stern. I'm just happy to have you, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Just grateful to be here, brother. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to your audience and see how I can be a potential resource for you guys.
No, definitely. This is Mike. You guys met?
Yeah. And me and Jeremy have been friends for a little bit, so now it's good to meet another one. I've been meeting friends left and right.
Did you meet all 5? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, wait a minute.
He's like, get the fuck off
I
this
see what you did, you son of a bitch. Wait a minute. We're done with this. No, that was cool. I said we met in high school, and we weren't even like friends, really. Like we kind of knew each other. Like I think we had the same vibe.
For sure. I was going to say, class of 07, Schaumburg High School, man. Several classes I think I had with you, too. Yeah. Just never really had the opportunity to chat much with you.
Yeah, I was shy, so no one knew.
So was I, actually. I was very shy.
Yeah. But ever since, like, I've been watching all your stuff, like, man, you're pretty much a little, like, entrepreneur, right? Like DJing, you got into car sales, and now you're starting your own thing now.
All of them started by accident.
Really?
For sure.
Like how?
I'm much like yourself, was very shy in high school. I would classify myself as actually way more introverted until I got into sales. So like before there was the car salesman, I used to work in the mall, like many people. I worked in, probably 5 or 6 different places in Woodfield Mall. There was a store called Brookstone, which is just like Sharper Image with all the cool stuff.
The massage chairs.
Oh yeah. And the remote control helicopters and the Tempur-Pedic mattresses and everything else that no household should be without. So worked there and then just realized that I actually enjoyed dealing with people. And if it's a product that I can get passionate about, it's not really work because you're just talking about cool stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, so that was like your first sales job or no?
So that was my first like actual sales gig, was working at Brookstone. Then there came a point in time where, you realize that you're not going to school full time and you're living at home rent free, and then your dad has to have a tough conversation with you and say, it is time for you to get a real job or get the hell out of my house and find a new place to live. So by default, I found myself in the car business because I figured I'd worked a few mall jobs, had some minor sales experience, and I grew up playing Gran Turismo, which is a racing video game, for those of you who are not familiar with it. So I figured this should come easy, right? And I was wrong. I sucked so bad at that job that I was almost fired multiple times.
Your first car sales job?
My first, yeah. It was that bad to the point where, not for lack of effort, it was just simply nobody ever tapped me on the shoulder, sat me down and say, here's the questions that you ask, here's what to say, what not to say. And as a result, you had a 21-year-old kid that had one goal in life, and that was to be a DJ. That was using slang words, talking fast, just not resonating at all with my audience. And I had to figure out what worked and what didn't.
Really? That's dope. Like we were talking, I got a buddy who just got into CarMax. He's like, I'm trying to this is harder than I thought. I was like, but you're so personable. You love people. Like you're someone I would buy from, but I guess not that easy, huh?
Car sales, I will tell you, as somebody who spent 13 years just in that world, is one of the best business experiences that anybody, forget business experiences, life experiences that anybody can go through. Because it not only teaches de-escalation skills, problem solving skills, sales skills, it teaches you marketing skills. Literally everything that you need in order to run a business and survive in 2024, you learn as a result of selling cars. You're in a field that most people don't trust. Let's call it what it is. If you were to go on Google right now and type in what percentage of people dislike buying a car, there's actually a study that was done. 87% of the world dislikes something about buying a car, which is good and it's bad. It's bad for obvious reasons, but it's good Because if you can show somebody how to be part of that small 13% that actually enjoys it, now you got a customer for life. So when the majority of the world zigs, it's a huge opportunity to zag. And I learned that as a result of selling cars.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right. Like,
Wow.
me, you would have loved me. I bought my my Jeep. I was like, I'm gonna come get this. I don't even have to hassle. I'm not like that. I'll just buy it. Hour, I was out. The guy's probably like, whew, like that guy was nice.
So is this in pertaining to that study? Is it done because of like what Jeremy said? Is it hassling? Is that why people hate it so much, or what is the biggest, I guess, the fault that goes into why people hate, going to a car salesman and which makes the challenge for the salesman itself, come back around?
It's a great question. There's so many reasons. Time is one of them. By the way, I'm the same kind of buyer as you. I'm like a salesperson's dream. I'm a flop. I already have my mind pretty much made up before I go somewhere, and I just want to get in and out. So if you can execute on that, I'm probably not going to shop you too hard on pricing. So one of the main reasons is time. Lack of transparency is another one. Are car salesmen historically trustworthy?
No.
Well, there's movies made about us. So you take a look at that. The stereotypical used car salesman is, generally speaking, somebody who's fast talking in a suit, a checkered suit. The reality, though, is that is a huge opportunity if you can be the inverse of that and give somebody a good experience. The other thing is there's so much information that's out there, and everybody is a expert because they read one article that was probably wrong on Kelley Blue Book or some other blog, and everybody has the grandpa or the family member that is the expert that's completely out of touch because they haven't bought a car in the past 10 years, but they make it seem like you're getting screwed unless X, Y, and Z happens. So there's so many floating question marks, and there's so much decisions that somebody has to make before they go in there. People's guards are up.
Plus, it's a big decision. It's like a house,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
For sure.
Wait a minute. And well, people probably get in their own head, though, right? Like, I don't know. They like you. Do you think they like you or they don't? Pretty much.
Well, somebody's not going to buy from you unless they like you.
Yeah.
Know, like, and trust. That's one of the things that I learned. I was blessed to learn about 10 years ago. People do business with those who they know, like, and trust. Somebody may like you, but if they don't trust you, they're probably not going to tell you really anything about their financial situation, which is important when it comes to actually showing somebody the right car. Because if somebody comes in and they say, hey, I want this, the last thing that you want to do is get them super excited when it's the wrong car. There's no such thing as a great idea. There's no such thing as a great deal on the wrong car. There isn't. Because it costs you money if you want to get out of it, and then you're mad that you got it in the first place. And it never would have happened if the salesperson just actually asked the right questions and said, what are you looking for, and matched accordingly.
So, like, what changed then when you first started that business? How long did you go, I got to make a change?
So a few months in, basically here's what happened. 2011, I get into the car business by accident. And, at that point, I had owned a DJ company for about 3 years. I really didn't want to be selling cars. I wanted to be a full-time nightclub DJ and, get paid for blasting music. Like what teenager or early 20-year-old wouldn't want that? So largely, the way that I was dressing, I was literally showing up to the dealership dressing like I was going out to a nightclub.
I remember your hair.
Hair spiked accordingly, jersey short, chin straps, all of that. Clearly not somebody that you would trust to buy a car from. My intentions were good, but nobody actually said, dude, here's what you need. You need to go out, get yourself a respectable wardrobe, stop using the slang, stop saying, oh, this is sick and this is nasty in all of the terminology, because you're serving the North Shore, which is obviously a high-end area. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing was finding out why somebody actually wanted to buy a car. To your point, there's so many options. There's so much information that goes into buying a car that people get scared of making the wrong decision. Now, I'll give you an example of a place that I a time that I just massively botched a car sale. There was an elderly lady, probably in her 80s, that was coming from, I think, a Chevy Cavalier, which was their compact car in the early 2000s. She made it clear that she just wanted something simple and easy to use and did not want a lot of technology. So young 21-year-old Alan Stern, what does he decide to do? Talk about how exciting it is to have a rear view camera and Bluetooth and push button to start and all kinds of other bullshit that the lady really could not care less about. She wanted to leave that dealership within about 15 minutes of coming in because I had successfully talked her out of buying a car.
It's like too much for her.
It was too much because I was selling the wrong things. I didn't pitch the fact that this car is simple and easy to use. I started talking about stuff that was important to me, but I'm not the one that's buying the car. She wants
to roll down windows.
She wants the elbow power windows and the cassette player and the 8-track and all the other stuff. So, years go by and you live, you learn, and you just kind of adjust accordingly to what works and what doesn't.
Did someone teach you think? Did you have like someone in the field who was doing good? You're like, how's that guy doing it?
So eventually, yeah. So there's only so far that you can go on your own. The best investment that you can make is truly in yourself, whether that's reading books, watching courses, watching videos on YouTube, investing in mentors. Over the years, that's what really skyrocketed my production when I was selling cars.
That's dope.
And how much did you progress from start to wherever you got to be before you changed careers?
So to condense everything, the first, I would say year and a half in the car business was rough. It was a matter of, I'm young, I'm selling cars in the North Shore, I'm not dressing the part, talking the part, the product knowledge is not really there. So all of a sudden, I start actually reading books on the sales process, the right questions to ask, how to actually create urgency, what to say when the customer says this, how to get somebody from the phone actually into the dealership by giving them a reason to come and invest their time by coming into the store. So I would say things really, 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 really changed for me in 2015, which was year 4 in the car business. I had started not only reading books, but I had made the decision to actually open up my wallet and spend $1,000 on a course on selling cars. And what happened that following year is my production was up about 30%.
Wow, nice.
Which off of $1,000 investment, that is a gigantic return.
Yeah.
That's good for the course too. Like that shows you know what I mean?
It is.
Shows the success rate out of that, and then be able to venture out.
Just send me that course. I'm going to send it to my friend.
Yeah, you sure should. But for that, as a self-development growth, just to be able to do that yourself, I mean, that's a huge step for anybody to take, especially if you're tanking, and then to just to say, hey man, I gotta do something. It takes a lot of courage to just jump into something and say, you know what, I could either wing it and just try to learn from people, or I can take a chance on this, this course or whatever to go through. But I think that's something that is becoming more prevalent today, more courses, more information getting out to people. And, so, I mean, it's happened in my life, but it's also, I mean, it's good to see other people that do that. And then hopefully the rest that are looking for something like that can fall into it.
Well, you could easily quit and be like, this career field's awful, like whatever, blah, blah, like
go back
bashed it.
And then go back to the mall, I guess.
For sure. Hey. No, you can't go in the mall. They drive through it now. There's someone driving through the big mall.
Is that really?
In Woodfield?
That actually happened in Woodfield, I think, like 2 years ago.
What are you doing going the wrong way?
It's those doorbuster deals, bro. Sorry, I couldn't resist. That was too easy.
Like, beep, beep.
So then by the time you got, so you did it for 13 years.
Yeah, so.
And then by the 13th year, where were you and how far along did you get?
Yeah, so here's what's interesting is out of my 13-year career selling cars, 6 of those were selling domestic economy cars in the North Shore. I used to work for a dealership called Jennings Chevrolet. Great dealership. I love the fact that I got started there because they were all about actually selling trust and transparency. I mean, their slogan is Jennings' reputation rides with you. So the whole idea is that aligned with who I was as a person, the core values, they definitely matched. And, in a industry that is not known for trust, when you align yourself with a store where there were managers and salespeople that, had worked there for a decade, 2 decades, some even 3, it says everything that you need to know about the organization. But here's what I found is you could be great at sales. You could be great at closing, but in order for you to sell, you need to create opportunities to sell. So you have to learn how to market yourself.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is in January of 2017, I had an opportunity to join the sales team at McGrath Lexus, which is actually the #1 volume Lexus dealership in the entire state, consistently every single month. So not that Jennings did anything wrong. It's an amazing store, but secretly I always had wanted to move up market. I'd always wanted to move into the luxury world. And at the time, General Motors just wasn't really the brand to align themselves with. Nothing against Cadillac, but I just couldn't really get excited about it back at that time. So opportunity presented itself, and I took a leap of faith. And I know the theme of the show today is kind of taking leaps and turning the page and ultimately developing the resilience mindset. I knew that at that point in my life was the scariest move I'd ever make. I had literally left a 6-figure career to start from scratch in a new area, selling a new product, knowing nobody. So think about how dramatic this is for a second. I go from selling domestic economy cars over here in Glenview to import luxury cars in Westmont. First off, I didn't even know Westmont was in Illinois. Let's just start there. When I first heard about this store, I'm like, Westmont, wait a second, that sounds far. Come to find out, it's 5 minutes away from Oakbrook Mall, where everybody knows where Oakbrook Mall is. So to go from here, domestic economy cars, to now import luxury cars in a new area, and I live in Schaumburg, so it was 20 miles opposite direction. It was terrifying. So here's when I had first realized you can be great at sales, but it won't do you good until you create opportunities to sell, and you need to learn marketing. I now had to rebuild my entire book of business from scratch because it's a very different client, very different customer that wants a Chevy versus a Lexus. It could not be more different. So one of my friends tells me to join something called a Chamber of Commerce, to which at that point in my life, I replied, it was a freaking branch of government or something. It sounds official, Chamber of Commerce. Come to find out, it's a hub of local businesses that facilitate networking events where you go and meet the realtor up the road, the insurance agent, the local restaurant owner, the owner of the bar, the owner of the gas, whatever that is, you are meeting the people that are actually owners of community business.
That's of the town?
That's of the town, yeah. So pretty much every city, every town either has a chamber of commerce or a business association, which if you're somebody who's watching this, you're thinking, hey, like where can I go to get involved and meet people and grow my presence? I would definitely start there. So I joined a chamber of commerce, and all of a sudden I had felt this connection with everybody who was there because they were all in the same boat as me. They were all in either production-based roles or they owned a business. We're all trying to figure out how the hell we're going to make it happen. Who can I meet that may either do business with me or send or refer me business? So I started going to a bunch of these events. And next thing you know, I realized it's an untapped market for car salesmen, because every networking event that you go to, you are almost guaranteed to meet a loan officer, a financial advisor, a life insurance agent, a realtor. You're usually finding those people there, but you're not finding anybody who's in a car sales role or even represents a dealership that was there. So I figured this is wide open. Like, why not join every single chamber of commerce that I can and just be the guy that's on speed dial? Again, the common theme here is when the world says zig, huge opportunity to zag. So I started doing this, and now next thing you know, by default, I started learning more and more and more about marketing and how I can do it without spending any money. I had owned a DJ company at that point, going on 9 years. So I've had to learn the art of making the phones ring without breaking the bank. So I decided to do the same thing for car sales.
Nice. How many Chamber of Commerce are you a membership of?
Right now, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
At one point, I think 6.
That's dope. How do you join?
Just go on their website, ask when their next events are, and you can either pay at the door or you can become a member, and now there's no charge to get to the events.
Nice. That's a good networking tool.
I didn't even know about that, honestly. I heard about it. You heard Chamber of Commerce. I'm like, I'm not a politician,
Yeah, most people our age aren't going to these.
Yeah.
These are not things that we were taught in school to go out and network. We were taught to go to school and get a degree that may or may not pay off and go and work for somebody. We weren't really taught entrepreneurship and how to build things from the ground up.
Do you think that would be a good thing to add to the education system? Is if, because I think they should add more life skills, how to be a handyman or how to, fix certain little things here or there. I know some schools offer, like my school offered like construction, you know, and stuff like that. So, but I don't think a lot of people get enough resources. So I think, would you think that it would be a good thing is if they, in the education whole system, if they try to vamp something into that scenario, especially the way we're going today?
100%. If you take a look, so for starters, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. There's a massive shortage when it comes to the trades. Massive shortage of people that are willing to go into it. Basic supply and demand. If there's not enough people that are willing to do those jobs, the price of those jobs, what they're paying, goes through the roof. You know, you have, plumbers that are making gigantic money right now. Mind you, that's a very needed skill set. It's not easy work. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be an electrician. I'm just not a handy person. But, you have people that are going straight into the trades that are making considerably more money without the crippling amount of debt that these people are going through for their bachelor's or master's degree. So I would absolutely encourage that.
Well, look at our degree.
Yeah.
I got associates, but we're doing okay. You know what I mean? Like it's sick, but COVID like killed everything. All the workforce is gone. Now the hospitals are paying buku bucks.
It's wild.
I'll take it, right? Like it's not bad.
For sure. But yeah, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, all of these life skills, I truly feel in the schooling system, whether it's K through 12, whether it's, community college, whether it's, something that's a little bit more elaborate, I feel like these should all be, taught or at least touched upon more.
Yeah, there's so many people getting master's degrees. I'm like, oh man, and they got like $200,000 loans, and they're not doing anything with it.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing too: is it's basic supply and demand. If you have a massive percentage of a certain age group that all has the same degree and the exact same credentials, yes, it may add value, but how valuable is it when everybody has it? And in the world of business, we exchange money to solve problems. Give you an example. You know what? If the power were to go out right now, I couldn't fix it. We would have to hire an electrician. If there's one or two electricians within the surrounding 50 miles, that means the value of their time goes through the roof. But if there's 500 of them, or if there's 1,000 or several thousands of them, it doesn't make the skill set, any less important. It just means the market is only willing to pay X.
Well, it's like Uber Eats. If Uber Eats went out, I wouldn't eat. Like, I don't leave the house, you know what I mean? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, hit a button and it comes.
Yeah.
But we pay for that, like, convenience.
You do, exactly.
I don't care, like, I'll pay it, but you look at your statement, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, people exchange money to solve problems. Time is a big problem.
I feel like I would, actually, it's dumb, but I would pay more for the car just to get out quick.
Absolutely.
Like
That's
2
why
minutes?
I said you.
All right, let's go.
That's why I said you and I are the exact same buyer.
Yeah.
I will happily buy this. Just get me in and out of the fucking dealership in a timely manner and tell me exactly what I'm signing up for.
Because I bet people haggle like $500 less. You're like, come on.
For sure.
Like, come on, just get the car. It's a good car. You know what I mean?
Exactly. For $2 a month. All right, here.
I haggle because I'm cheap.
You're cheap. Yeah, this guy over here.
I mean, but I'm cheap because I try to value my money at the best scenario I can possibly get. I know if I walk in the dealership and then I tell you, hey, I want this car, you're selling it for 20 grand, and I'm like, I know you can come down a little bit. Like, I know you have to make your profit. I know the business has to make its profit. Like, I understand that, but I'm also not going to pay your top dollar for something. Just come down a little bit. If you don't want to come down, then I'll leave and wait for you to call back, because then they come down a little bit. But maybe that's the old mentality, or maybe that's it. But that's, to me, it's like saying, I know if I walk in and say, hey man, all right, you want 20 grand, I'll give you 16. I know we're going to settle on 18, but I'll give you 16. And you're like, nah, I can't do that. I'll be like, all right, cool, I'll leave. And then next thing I know, you get a call back and I'm like, okay, now we're at 18. You know what I mean? It's like, you could have just said that at the very beginning and then we would have been done. Right. You know what I mean? But like, maybe that goes into the sales portion of it. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe that goes into, or the seller having that thing, But a lot of times I've found that, I've only been in a car dealership to buy a car like 4 times. But every time it was the exact same thing. So, even when I tried to turn my car in, and I was going to trade my car in at one point, but they were like, we'll give you $4,000. And I was like, dude, Kelly Blue looks like 12, like 4. Like, I was like, I get you need to make some money off this, but I mean, you can't kill me that bad. And then, you know, I left. I get a call back. Hey, I'll do 8. And I was like, you doubled it? Like, I was like, you know what, dude? I was like, at this point, no, I don't want to do business with you.
That's trust, though.
Yeah, the trust is breached.
Yeah, and it was right before I went to Germany, so I was like, you know what, dude? Like, it'll just be easier. Like, they're gonna ship my car for free, and there and back. Like, but that's no brainer. Like, I don't need to go spend, because then I'm gonna go spend $20,000 on a new car. You know, I was like,
right.
I might as well just keep this thing. Like, you lost my trust.
It's the same thing all around. So I worked for me in the hospital, right? I had a great job when I first started out. It was for whatever an hour, and I was like, wait, I think I can do better. But I was so happy to even get the opportunity to get into the hospital in this job. It was like doing procedures with the doctor. Like, I was like, oh my God. In our field, everyone wants to get to that. But I was like, wait a minute. I was like, yes, real quick. And at night, I sent the HR rep, hey, I think I'm worth more. Like, I'm really like passionate. I love learning. Think I can like make more? 10 minutes later, emails me, yeah, actually $3 more. She literally, I have it in writing. Jeremy, never take the first offer. I was like, what? This is HR rep who offered me a salary. And I was honest, like, hey, I think I'm worth more. She goes, you are. You just took the first thing. I was like, you. And now the rest of my life, I'm like, it's just a thing. You learn.
Everything is negotiable. It really is. You know, here's the other thing too, and just getting back to life lessons that the car business has taught me is it doesn't matter if times are good or if they're bad or if there's AI. People don't buy from brands, they buy from people who represent brands. And I use the cars as an example because I worked for Lexus and I worked for Chevy. There's plenty of other dealerships that you can buy a car at. Yet there's people that would drive a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, several hours to come and just do business with me based off of the relationship, because people do business with those who they know, like, and trust. You know, what so many people just don't, you know, wrap their head around is the fact that there is a huge difference between a transactional relationship and a relationship-focused sale. If you're transactional, what ends up happening is it's one and done. That's it.
Like money.
You sell a car, it's just done. Yeah. But if you're relationship-focused, that same customer is a walking billboard for you. Like Nielsen, which is one of the biggest market research companies on planet Earth, period. They did a study that said 92% of people trust friends and family recommendations more than any sort of advertisement. 92%. So the way that I see it is if you have 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 happy, satisfied customers, these are walking billboards for you. You can only be at one place at a time. We're here doing this podcast right now, so I can't be at a speaking engagement. I can't be at a networking event. I'm here right now. But at the end of the day, when you have a team of people that have done business with you and they know, like, and trust you, you're in 500 places at once.
I'm sure you could probably get hounded by messages like, hey, like back in the day, like in the car sales, eventually, like I know you got to build to that, but like word of mouth, right? But then they trust you. Then does it get easier? I don't know.
It gets way easier because there's no selling that's involved. If you're boys with somebody, the rapport is already there, the trust is built, the conversation is very different. Somebody enters the dealership and they say, hey, here's my situation. I'm open-minded. You're the expert. What do you got to say? And at that point, you're in the recommending business. You're not in the convincing business. One thing that is so exhausting, and this is why there's such a high turnover rate in the car business, is so many people are in the convincing business. They are trying to convince a stranger that does not know them, like them, or trust them to part with tens of thousands of dollars. You relive that same day on repeat, it takes a toll on you. It really does. But when you're in the relationship business, now all of a sudden your closing ratio is so much higher because you're recommending as opposed to selling. You're not trying to convince somebody of anything. You're basically saying, hey, based off of what you told me, you drive 15 to 20,000 miles a year. Here's how much money you will save by going with a 4-cylinder versus a V6 or a V8. At that point, you're in the recommendations business. You're not slamming anybody in any car. You're not selling snake oil. You've listened and you've said, this is the best option for you.
But I think like everyone though, like any career field you go, you gotta start somewhere, right?
For sure.
You gotta build. I think that's why people don't do good, because they don't want to build, they want to jump. They see their friends making 100, 200K, they want to do that. But like, you didn't put in the time. Unfortunately, we've been putting in the time, you know what I mean? And like, it sucked back in the day, making $20 an hour. It's like, you know what I mean? But at one point, 10 was like, 20 was like, I'm rolling, baby.
Dude, I remember my first job was working for Ace Hardware, making $6 an hour. I did a
$6
damn
an hour.
backflip. That was all the candy I could eat.
That
$7. I think my first job was $7.
Mine was 10.
Yeah, $6 an hour back in 2003 or 2004, I think was my first job. And living at home with no bills. That's all the McDonald's you can eat. That's all the video games you could buy. It was ball. I remember the first time I made $10 an hour. I was ecstatic. I was beyond myself.
Double digits, like
Double digits, man. I'm ready to go out and buy a Lamborghini.
Hey. I was at Gobert's Farm. That's my first job.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one
Barrington?
Schaumburg, Barrington. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Right there, making the roasted corn.
It's great.
And dude, it's a thing. It's you too. Like you slowly like jump, but you got to jump too. Like,
you do, and here's the other thing too, and I recommend anybody who's a teenager, consider starting a side hustle, because you never know where that will take you. Because if you start a side hustle or something that you're passionate about, or some project, and you're able to make, it doesn't have to be monumentally large amounts of money, but if you're able to make a little extra coin as a kid, it's the coolest thing. I started a DJ company when I was 18 years old. I'll never forget. When I was working part-time at Brookstone and Woodfield Mall, I would make about $250 a week. And this completely changed my relationship with money. I remember the first time somebody hired me for a block party and said, we'll pay you $300 for this. I said, hold on a second. $300 one day?
for the event.
Yeah.
That's dope. Still
Or
good.
$250 for a full week of my time. Option A, all day.
All
like,
day.
why wouldn't I do this? I get paid for blasting music. You're going to feed me, and I get to hang out. This is the coolest job ever. But what I found is little by little by little, that one gig turns into another, which turns into another, which turns into another, which next thing you know, you're upgrading your sound system, you're getting better equipment, you're getting better microphones, you acquire more skills, you acquire a network, and 15 years later, you still have it, and it's a full-scale business. So I encourage everybody who's in their teenage years, start a business. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Even in your 20s and 30s.
Start. You got to start.
You just got to start.
People are so like, I've had a few conversations of like, man, like it's like in my brain, it's like a big thing to like record a podcast and put it out. Like who wants to hear that? No, like I'm not famous or nothing. And B, like, is it good? And once you overcome the fact of like, who cares? Just do it. And eventually you do the next one and do the next one, do the next one. You start to get a little bit better, actually.
For sure.
It's like weird though, you start to develop. Like you get people, the weirdest thing at work, someone was like talking to me about the pod. It was like 40 minutes in. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, it was on your thing. I was like, you watched that? I was like, oh, game changer,
It's funny how that works.
It's weird.
And a lot of times people don't even engage, but all of a sudden they'll come up to you weeks, months, years later, and they'll comment on something that you posted, or in this case, a podcast that you have, and you're like, I didn't realize you watched it, but would it kill you to just smash the damn like button next time? Drop a comment
Share
so
it.
I know somebody's actually listening.
It's a thing.
It is, totally.
No, that's cool. Well, so after all this stuff, you just started your own thing now, right?
For sure. So basically, here's what I've learned. Again, going back to what I said about sales. You could be great at sales. It won't do you much good unless you have opportunities to sell. In the car business, that usually means you are relying on walk-in traffic unless you generate your own. You are relying on inbound phone calls or internet leads unless you create your own. And unless you create your own, you spend your entire time reacting to other people's marketing efforts. So if you go out and you self-generate your own business, now all of a sudden, you can essentially write your own paychecks. What I found is most people who are really good at sales struggle in the world of marketing. Completely different skill set. Marketers, on the other hand, they know how to create the opportunities, and they're usually a very different personality type. Your marketers are usually really, really smart people that know advanced stuff. They know the sales funnels, the SEO, the retargeting ads, the email automation, the drip campaign, all kinds of big words and acronyms. Your marketers know how to do that. But again, smart people, advanced stuff. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Anytime that I have somebody really smart try to explain some advanced stuff to me, way over the head.
I'm trying to catch on right now.
Right. So what's interesting is I've found most salespeople struggle with marketing. Most marketers struggle with sales. I just happen to learn both as a result of selling cars. If you're going to market yourself on social media, though, what happens is you still need to have a piece of content to display. So unless you hire a graphic designer, you have to figure out how you're going to design it and make it look pretty. Because you can say all the right things and put it in front of the right people, but if it doesn't look good, it might actually do more harm than good. So what I found is most graphic designers usually don't have a background in sales and usually don't have a background in marketing. A lot of times they work best when they're left alone. It doesn't make them bad people or anything, but you usually find more introverted personality types. So there's a huge opportunity if you know how to create marketing that sells, that looks cool, and you could do it all by yourself. So what I've done is I've started a company called Persona Marketing, where I'm a marketing consultant for salespeople and small businesses. And I show them how to leverage AI so they can do all of their own marketing as opposed to outsourcing it, overlapping the sales, the marketing, and the graphic design comment that I just made earlier. So finally just took the leap. Last day in the car business was about 3 weeks ago, and my stress level hasn't been this low in over a decade. I'm loving it.
It's nice, right? That's crazy. No, that's cool though. I'm sure you probably had a lot of people ask you, like, how do I market and do stuff, right? You're like, I got you. Watch this.
Well, that's how all of it started. Again, I started a DJ company by accident. I got in the car business by accidents, and I started a marketing company completely by accident, just by listening to the market and adjusting accordingly. So going back to the Chamber of Commerce's, what would happen is I would go to these events, and they're usually, if you're not familiar with it, they're like cocktail parties. At least the ones that I would go to, they're business after hours. So you go there, have some beers, passed out some business cards, meet some people that are in the community. But what would happen is I would realize I go to a networking event and I get a whole bunch of these cards, and unless you add them on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, like immediately you're going to forget to do it, and you are going to forget that you talked to them, and they are going to forget that they met you. So how do you stay top of mind? Add them on these social media platforms, and then what I realized is weeks and months would go by, and I would run into a person who I met at an event before, and they would actually approach me and say, hey, I know we met a while back, but I love how you're using humor in your marketing. We only met once, but I feel like I know you. How the hell do you do this? And that happens a couple times, whatever, ha, he, don't really think anything of it. But when that starts happening like 20 to 50 times and people are like, hey man, can I take you out for dinner or coffee or lunch or beers or whatever and pick your brain on this, eventually a light bulb goes off. So what happened, and this changed everything for me. In February of 2022, I decided to do a speaking engagement on do-it-yourself marketing. Like, that was it. I had opportunity at a local group that I belong to called Engaging Speakers, where the premise is speak your way to more business. So that could mean, like, if you want help nailing your 30-second elevator pitch, they'll help you with that. If you want to actually do a signature talk presentation, like, what you guys see me do, they will help you with that. So the chapter director, he had picked up several cars from me over the years. So it got to a point where I said, hey, here's my card. Bill me for a year. You've supported me. I'd like to support you. And I started going to these. And at the end of each event, there's a keynote speaker. And the chapter director approached me and said, you know what? You got a background in sales and you got a background in DJing. Love to hear from you if you're ever interested. So
that's your first?
This is my very first. So I decided, you know what? Let's just try something new. Why not? Like, what is the absolute worst that can happen? So I'll never forget, the day was January 6th of 2022, and I basically just made that commitment that I'm actually going to do this event. I go on Canva and I design this mediocre looking flyer. Like, it's god awful looking at it.
I love Canva.
It's great. It's become one of my favorite apps. So I go and I design this, mediocre flyer, and I basically say, hey, the event is called How to Become a One-Man Content Machine, and what you'll learn is how to do your own marketing so you don't have to pay somebody to do it for you. I have zero expectations at this point. I make the Facebook post, and I click submit. 3-4 hours go by, there's like several hundred engagements that are on this. 60 people comment and say, you know what, I'm in, send me the registration links. And I'm thinking, dude, okay, all right. I think I'm onto something here. So mind you, I don't even have a presentation built at this point. All I have is a flyer and an idea. And this is where this is where things actually get really cool. This truly was how I knew I was onto something. So my actual event was February 1st, 2022. So I get a text message from one of my coworkers' husbands that owns a pretty big roofing company that, you know, basically says, hey, Alan, I would love for my guys to go and attend your events so we can start using some of your stuff, because I don't see many people doing this in the commercial roofing space. But there's only one problem. And the problem is your event is February 1st, and so is the International Roofing Conference. So we're going to be in New Orleans. So we can't come to you. Can I fly out to New Orleans and you do the presentation in front of my guys? And I'm thinking, are you kidding me?
Really?
First off, I don't even have a presentation made at this point. Second off, you're right. Second off, I'm like, this is freaking cool. So again, commit first, figure the rest out later. He's like, Alan, well, what should I pay you for this? I said, fuck paying me, dude. This is way cool. This is like the coolest first speaking engagement that I can do. So, you know, a few weeks go by. Here I am in New Orleans. I do my presentation, take the selfie with the mediocre flyer in the presentation there, put it out in the world that I'm doing these things. Boom. All of a sudden, post lights up on social media, several hundred engagements. The next day was my original event, February 1st, had about 60 people there. Take again a selfie of myself with a full room, put it in the world that I'm starting to do this. And then one led to another, led to another, led to 10, led to 50. Now at this point, I've probably done about 70 of them live or, you know, on Zoom. And
Events?
events.
70? I don't know that.
Between webinars that I've been hired for, or in-person speaking engagements, whether it be Chamber of Commerce or let's say a loan officer will hire me to present for a room full of realtors so that they can use it as advertisement. That's what I've started doing. So I've started a business showing salespeople how to leverage AI so that they can do their own marketing as opposed to hiring somebody to do it for them.
No, definitely.
Wow, good for you.
Hey,
So when did you start, when did you realize or start with AI, incorporating it into being able to make it successful for you to be able to do what you do?
Yeah, so great question. AI in general is not a new topic. It's been around 20 plus years. Like everybody's like, oh my God, this AI thing's new. Bro, you've had a calculator since you've been a freaking kid. So AI has been around, but it didn't really gain the traction until ChatGPT came out, which was about 1.5 years ago. So I think it was November of 2022 when it first came out, and one of my buddies showed it to me. I had belonged to a couple car sales masterminds, and then the week later, you know, the trainer actually brought this up on how we could use it in the car business, and I'm like, all right, so I should probably start learning about this. Then fast forward a couple months later, a guy named Billy Jean is marketing, which hands down, if you're in the marketing space and you're not following this guy, you absolutely should. He came out with a 16-week deep dive course on how to use AI to start a digital marketing agency. I took it. At that point, I was already doing speaking engagements on do-it-yourself marketing, and I found a way to actually incorporate that in there. Because the reality is, there's no shortage of resources in the world. There's just lack of resourcefulness. That's really it. So ChatGPT, Google Gemini, they're text-based. They're basically they're data-based AIs. If you own a business or you're in sales, or let's say that you need content ideas, all that you have to do is ask it for some ideas. They'll fire out a whole bunch.
it helped me write a best man speech.
It's insane.
It gives you at least like the template. You can follow it. Obviously change a little bit of it. Hello, Brian. But it works.
It's absolutely nuts. So I'll give you an example. And again, there's nothing unique about what I'm doing. All of the data is already out there. But like if you're a salesperson and you're listening to this right now and you're like, hey, how can I use this for my business? Just know that in the world of business, people exchange money to solve problems. So let's say that I was still selling cars and I wanted to use this to gather a target customer profile. All that I would ask ChatGPT is say, what are 5 problems that would cause someone to consider purchasing a new car? They'll spit out a whole bunch of data. So, you know, owners of older vehicles who, you know, frequently experience, you know, car repairs, all of these things it'll fire out. So I have that data. then I can go a layer or two deeper, which is where things get really interesting. Just because you found a problem that causes the phone to ring doesn't mean somebody is actually going to buy from you. You need to create urgency. So what I can do is I can say, okay, ChatGPT, what are the consequences of not solving each of the problems listed above? Now, I know how to build urgency. And somebody experiences this and they're putting off buying a car, I could say you probably shouldn't wait, otherwise this could happen. And that's how I overcome the objection. Then if you want to get a target audience, all that you have to do is say, give me an audience that is most likely to experience each of the problems. Now you have a target customer profile in about 2 minutes. These are all things that small businesses in the past would have to pay thousands of dollars to a data company to find out. And it's all right there at our fingertips. So I'm showing the masses how to use these things.
And it works.
Nice.
Crazy.
It works.
It's crazy. Isn't it crazy when it works?
Dude, I'm genuinely depressed for the people who are not using this right now.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
for real.
I feel a depression because I'm not using ChatGPT right now. I mean, I've only messed with it like, honestly, probably like 2, maybe 3 times. Just asking stupid questions. But only because I'm not in a position to be using it right now. I'm going through like school and whatnot, so I don't need ChatGPT right now because right now it's all about reading a book. It's not going to read the book for me.
Maybe it will.
So maybe it will.
Summarize it.
It could if you upload a PDF. There's extensions that
Is
can
there?
scrape everything. Yeah,
It makes pictures now. It makes videos.
it's not. It's scary.
Yeah.
QR codes. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, so AI can mean like 100 different things to
Yeah.
100 different people. ChatGPT is the one that, you know, it's on the forefront of everybody's mind because that's the one that really took things into overdrive. But there's other ones. There's text to image like DALL-E, which is also owned by OpenAI, which is who owns ChatGPT. There's Midjourney, which is text to image. So let's say that you had a product idea, but you don't want to hire somebody to design a prototype. You can just go on there and ask it to generate a picture and it'll do it. And a lot of times it just nails these things. There's text to video. That just got released by OpenAI. It's called Sora, where you can literally just, instead of searching for stock video, type in a keyword and it'll generate a video. Like this stuff is moving.
pretty good, right?
Wow.
It's not, from what I understand, it's not open to the public yet, but they just announced it. Microsoft just came out with something called Copilot. I don't think it's open to the masses yet, only if you have enterprise accounts. But the crazy thing, if you really think about this, things in the history of the world have never moved this fast, but they will also never move this slow again. Really crazy if you think about it like that.
Yeah, you got to keep with the times.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's just beneficial to you. Like this podcast, I take the audio file, I upload it to AI, it cleans it.
For sure.
Yeah, it bumps it a little bit up and cleans it, and like say like someone, we have like what's upstairs, like a bowling alley upstairs sometimes.
I think a daycare.
Yeah, boom,
I think
boom,
in
boom.
daycare,
Like,
boom, 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 boom.
like that's gonna ruin my pod. No, it cleans it to just your audio. I don't know how it does it, but
It's crazy. We could take this whole interview and feed it to a website called Opus Clip or submagic.co or I think what's the other one? Munch. Any of these. You can feed it a long format clip, give it a couple minutes, and then all of a sudden dices it up into mini clips, picks out what it thinks the most relevant sections are to do it. It'll put the captions up there for you, and that way it's, you know, YouTube short ready or Instagram.
crazy.
It's nuts.
Wow.
This is the world that we live
I
in
was
now.
playing with it before you came here. I was like, the whole time I'm there trying to like do it myself.
Oh, create the shorts yourself. That's what you're doing earlier?
Well, YouTube shorts are easy. You can remix it, but it's like, how good are they? But that stuff is a
Yeah.
different level.
It's wild. I mean, I look at it, and I say this humbly, but, you know, before I exited the car business, I look at AI, specifically ChatGPT and Google Gemini, as somebody with an extensive sales background and marketing and some copywriting and some graphic design. And I say, there's really no way from a speed standpoint that you can compete with this. You just can't. So just learn to use it as a tool so you can get more done, because you just want to be on the right side of these things. But again, doesn't matter if times are good or bad. People don't buy from brands. They buy from the people who represent the brands. So I think in a digital world where everything is going robotic and we're getting hit with robocalls and automated emails and ringless voicemails and spam text messages every freaking day, it just makes authentic that much more attractive. That's what I love what you guys are doing with this.
Hey, one at a time, man. Baby steps, you know. Like you said, it catches fires. The one person goes on from work, the other guy's like, hey, when are you free next? I'm like, I'm not. I work every damn day. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But they come on. I'm like, man, you gave me your time. Our boy Arcilla, he drove from St. Louis. He's starting his own coffee business. He came on. You know, like.
Well, you're providing value, man.
You know?
It's awesome. You're allowing somebody, you were literally, no pun intended, giving somebody the microphone to get their message out, whether that's a business owner, a speaker, an entrepreneur, somebody who's got, a philanthropic background. You're giving somebody a platform. So, it's...
Well, sometimes when you're so immersed in it, you don't... I get it. You know what I mean? People are going to come on and be kind of cool, but like... when you're immersed in it, you forget how cool that was. You know what I mean? Like when you first started it, when I first got all this together, I was like, wow. Then you get used to it. But to think that someone would come on and benefit, it's like, oh, I didn't see it that way.
Well, you're giving people content.
Yeah.
Most people will not get 1, 2, 3 cameras, a nice soundboard, spend the money on an awesome display, have a nice sign, have the right lighting. Most people will never have this experience. So for you to be able to provide it.
Thanks to China.
It is a pretty cool sign, though, I will say. So you're giving somebody the opportunity to experience something really cool like this, especially if you then give them the content and dice it up into mini clips. That's free advertisement for you.
Yeah.
So audience grows to a certain point. Now all of a sudden you can get sponsors involved. You can even rent this out if you really wanted to.
That's what I was telling him. People would come just take a selfie with it.
Absolutely, it's cool.
Like the airplane thing people do when they're trying to show off.
Yeah.
The people have like a half of a jet, they rent out their Lamborghini, take a selfie with it. Like Jesus.
For sure, you're providing real value, man.
Instagram is huge. You know what I mean?
MySpace, simpler times.
Let's throw throwback to it.
Well, so how do people find you?
So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, those are the biggest platforms that I'm on. For anybody who wants to connect, just go to connectwithalanstern.com. ALANSTERN is how you spell it. It's my digital business card. Shows everything about persona marketing, talks about the HEAT method, which is how you can stay top of mind in a cool way without spending any money. It's the easiest way to connect.
Did you develop that or you got that from someone?
I did. So here's the funny thing. My life, by the way, on the side note, my life has gone full circle. Before there was the speaker, there was the car salesman. Before there was the car salesman, there was the DJ. Before there was the DJ, there was the nightclub promoter. So my life has gone full circle because 15 years ago, I was saying, it's going down Saturday night at midnight. Now I'm saying, it's going down Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. This keynote. So basically what happens is I developed this HEAT method as a way to stay top of mind in a cool way without spending any money. Because we're at a time right now where it's never costed more money to run a business, but it's ironically never costed less if you do it the right way, by using a little bit of strategery. So if you're trying to find labor, it's expensive. Good talent is extremely hard to find. If you're running ads, it's expensive. Ad prices are going through the roof. But people, at the end of the day, go on social media so that they can be entertained. Always remember that. If you're a business owner and you're listening to this, the reason why people go on social media is so that they can be entertained. If you're wondering, what is your audience doing right now? Here's what they're doing. Let me give you a visual. Mindlessly scrolling on social media hours at a time. Now, if you had to guess, I'm going to share with you 3 marketing stats. If you had to guess, how much time do you think the average person spends on social media a day?
Oh, I listened to your one interview the other day. It was, I don't remember, but it was a ridiculous number. It was like 80. I feel like it was like 80 or 90%. But it was like 2 or 3 hours, but it was like something about the percentage. It was like a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah, so as far as like actual screen time on a phone, I'm not referring to. As far as time spent on social media platforms, you can go and Google it right now. There's a whole bunch of studies that came out, but it's somewhere about 2.5 hours. Depending on which one that you look at, it might be a little bit more, some might be a little bit less, but 2.5 hours a day. So let's take that and put that into perspective. 24 hours in the day, we're supposed to get like around 8 hours of sleep. So that leaves us 16 remaining hours, 2.5 of them is spent on social media. Now that's a decent portion of your day, but let's take that and compound it over time. 2.5 hours a day over the course of a year, 864 hours, which is the equivalent to 36 full days a year. That's what the average person spends on social media. So imagine being a business owner trying to figure out how can I accomplish more by spending less and not being on these platforms. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with it, which a lot of people do, especially in election year. I can totally turn the conversation on that, but the reality is, oh yeah, I can go way down the rabbit hole.
That's the next hour.
Yeah, right? So
That's the off-camera hour.
that's the off-camera hour, but the reality is, from a business standpoint, it's never been more effective to do social media because that's platforms that people are on. So that's the amount of time that's there. That's stat number one. Number two is the average person sees somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000 advertisements every single day. That is a crazy amount of noise and clutter that you have to cut through. So it doesn't matter what you sell, you're in the attention business. Like literally half of the battle is getting noticed, but the other half is getting remembered. Because if you're talking and it's instantly forgotten, it's not going to do you any good. And stat number three is, according to Microsoft, the average attention span of a human being is 8.25 seconds. Which is less than a goldfish, by the way. I don't know how I feel about that.
Nice.
So getting back to the HEAT method, it's a blend of allowing you to show your personality in your marketing while demonstrating your expertise. Because again, people don't buy from brands, they buy from the people who represent brands. So the idea is it's actually not about being funny, it's about creating a connection. It's about when you make somebody laugh, they tend to remember what made them laugh. And in this case, that's you. It's super easy to take a meme and turn it
All your
into an
stupid damn
advertisement.
memes, it's all over my Facebook. I hate it.
It's great.
You know why?
My social media is
No.
I feel like with the advertisements, my social media is like, I feel like it's an ad every other picture. Like I hate getting on it now because I'm like, all I'm looking at is ads.
No, but
Like,
ad his. Everything
but then-
is.
But then again, yeah.
You know why I got fired today? Because you didn't buy a car from Alan.
Exactly. So I love that you brought that up, by the way.
He floods my Facebook with it.
So my whole business literally started making memes
Dislike.
of bad things that happen when you buy a car without calling me first. And this, by the way, is why you should always invest in yourself. I will never forget. So I don't know if I shared this story publicly, but I'm going to do it anyways because you guys are cool. So during the COVID lockdown madness, there was an ad that I saw for a course called Closer Memes. It was basically a course that was like less than $50 on how you can take memes and turn them into advertisements. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I had nothing but time right now because nobody's really walking into the dealership. Less than $50, let's buy this thing. So what I found is that memes can not only be used as advertisements, but they're wildly effective. Because here's the thing, before people read, they scan. Everybody is just doing this. So anything that's worth saying is worth saying briefly. A meme forces you to be short, concise, and to the point. But what I found is there was a customer, I'm not going to say customer, there was somebody who I met at a networking event that's going to remain nameless. And they knew that I sold cars, and they knew what cars that I sold. And I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw a picture of them post a picture of their new car that they bought without calling me first. And then to your point, immediately after that, I saw an ad. Except the ad was from Allstate Insurance about protecting yourself from mayhem, and this is what happens when you don't have Allstate as your carrier. Now, at this time, this is the COVID lockdown madness. So, you know, I got nothing but time, and I have plenty of beer in the fridge to drink. So I crack open a cold one, and I'm like, how funny would it be to make memes of bad things that happen when you buy a car without calling me first? So next thing you know, every day I was cranking out multiple memes and just putting them out there as advertisements. Fast forward a little bit, now networking resumes, and I start going to these events, and people are literally coming up to me at events saying, dude, that one that you posted yesterday about the guy doing a belly flop into a frozen pool, and that's how it feels when you buy a car without calling Alan first. Oh my God, I'd love to. Hey, did you see this one? Oh, you got to follow this guy on social media. I'm thinking to myself, what great advertisement. Like, this is insane. The branding is so concise because when you repeat yourself in short, simple sound bites like that, that's how you really just cement your message into somebody's head. So the humor is important because, again, people go on these platforms to be entertained, but what happens is your audience says, hey, business aside, this person's cool. I'd go and grab a beer with them. I'd hang out with them. I enjoy their company. So now a bond is established. The second part in the HEAT method, though, and by the way, HEAT stands for humor, education, adding value, and trust. You check off all 4 of those boxes, you can meet somebody in person one time, add them on social media, and based off of what you post, they're going to warm up to you. You stay top of mind in a cool way without spending any money. So the second part is the education piece. Now, what's interesting, you heard me talk earlier about how people exchange money to solve problems. You used the Grubhub example about saving time. That's the problem that Grubhub and DoorDash solve. So what happens is when you use education in your marketing, you're actually no longer viewed as a salesperson. You're viewed as a resource. And people love resources. People love to pick your brain when you're a resource. And when they pick your brain, you've just now created an opportunity to sell, but by being able to solve a problem. So there's a great book. If anybody's interested in reading more on this, it's called Ultimate Sales Machine. It goes super deep on this concept. So what happens is you can position yourself in a way by taking your headshot and uploading it to Canva, which we had talked about earlier, and you can say, hey, if you're the kind of person who is in X, Y, or Z situation, let's talk. I can help you out. I can literally take my headshot, upload it to Canva, and say, hey, if your lease is up within the next 3 to 6 months, call me before you turn it in. You might be leaving money on the table. That's direct response advertisement right there. So you put the humor and the education together, your audience says, this person's cool, but they can actually help me.
Okay.
You blend both of those together, you will notice a dramatic spike in your engagement. Now, the third area is my personal favorite, adding value. I could spend an hour just on this topic alone, but it's 2024, folks, and we live in a world of scams. Everybody knows somebody who's got burned on something, and we've all had plenty of lopsided relationships in our life. So people are skeptical, and that's rightfully so. So it's not what you say, it's not even how you say it, it's how your audience feels when they receive the message. And when you're somebody who solely focuses on adding value as opposed to merely just making a sale, people feel like you're authentically looking out for them. Free value also creates trust. But what's interesting is this is how you can literally get everybody talking about you at every networking event. When you introduce something of value to somebody, they associate that value with you. They remember the source. Prime example, there's probably a lot of people that are watching this podcast right now that I will never have the opportunity to meet. But if I send a nugget of information that actually impacts their life and adds value, they will associate that value with you, not me, because you were the one that brought us together based off of your podcast. So if you're somebody that goes to a lot of networking events and you make introductions, you become the source of that introduction. If you're a craft beer person like I am and you recommend good beer recommendations or good bars or restaurants or happy hours or movies or documentaries or conspiracy theories, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Whatever it is, now all of a sudden they associate that with you. You are talked about in so many different areas outside of business, and free value creates trust. People do business with those who they know, like, and trust. So, like, why would I tell you that I'm awesome if I can have one of my satisfied customers do it for me and way better? So by collecting reviews on Google, Yelp, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then repurposing them, which you can also do on Canva, you can take text and turn it into a cool graphic. So now you can repurpose it on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn and like turn it into graphic design format. Now all of a sudden you've scaled the sale. Humor, education, adding value, trust, all in your marketing strategy. People warm up to you over time, and you're the default choice when they're ready. So I trademarked that. That is the basis of literally everything that I teach my clients.
It's almost like even if you had like a job, you're the funny guy at work, and like you added value, like, you know what I mean? Like people trust you. That's like a thing.
Humor speeds up the path to trust. Like if you really want to, if you want to trust the science on
make
this
them
one,
laugh.
I thought you would find that funnier. Never mind. If you really want to do a deep dive on this, so the science behind using humor in your marketing is this. There's a book called Humor Seriously that like really does a deep dive on this. When people laugh, there's a hormone that's released in your brain called oxytocin, which is also referred to as the trust hormone. So by literally making somebody laugh, when you laugh, you're smiling, you speed up the pathway to trust. But the thing is, when people laugh, they remember what made them laugh.
And your stupid memes.
There you go.
I refuse to.
Don't buy a car without calling me first.
But it registers in my. I don't even like see you on a daily basis, but I'm telling you, like it worked, right? Hey.
Short, simple, repeatable messages, man.
I'm gonna block all those for now. Get out of here.
It's got to come into play with, especially or resonate as much with people with the short attention span. You said it was like what, 8 seconds or something?
8.25 seconds, man.
Yeah. So I mean, quick, easy, simple snap of a finger. You can get somebody smiling like that, and then it's got to build some rapport, whether you really know them or not. And then
For sure.
kind of go right into it.
Especially with the stress of everyday life. People
Yeah,
just
dude.
you make
Yeah.
me feel good? Oh,
We're all running
winner.
around right now, busy and stressed out. That's the climate that we're in. So here's the other thing, though, is take a look at how fast this can grow. Again, when people laugh, they tend to remember what made them laugh. So now all of a sudden you have a message that is more likely to stick. But we've all shared a meme at some point in our life. If the meme is funny and it happens to have your logo on it and it's an advertisement, people will share it. And now they've just passed along your business card, but they've done it in a really cool way.
It's a lot to think about. It's like, oof, so much stuff to do that we're not doing,
Hey, it's easy to do. It's easier not to do it.
But it helps to have you tell someone like, hey, you should try this because it worked.
For sure. It's all simple, easy things to do that you can do in like 2 minutes or less.
There's got to be people that refuse to change, though, right? In their business.
For sure.
You're like, do this. They're like, nah, I'll be fine. You're like, come on, try
Yeah,
it.
dude, there's people, when I was selling cars, there's people that still don't have a cell phone. They're like, hey, yeah, call the home phone. I can best be reached at this time. In this day and age, dude, if you don't have a cell phone or something like that, man, I mean, more power to you. Right, exactly. Rotary phone. And, I mean, there's still some people, dude, back at the dealership, I've seen people that are still using Ameritech.net is their email address.
Really?
Yeah, or SBC Global.
AOL?
There's people that just refuse to get with the times,
They're like older guys, older people.
Yeah.
Well, that comes typically with the older generations, right? They just refuse to want to
Change.
yeah, or just get with the times.
They're
They're
comfortable.
like, no, I'm good.
For sure.
I don't want to do that.
As society evolves, you have to evolve with society.
Yeah.
I look at this AI stuff, and it's at a point where, again, like if you are a business owner and you're not using this right now to get a competitive edge on your competition is going to use this to get a competitive edge on you. It's going to happen. We're at a time in life, in the world, and in business, where inflation is through the roof. The cost of everything has gone skyrocketed within the past year and a half to 2 years. Wow. So we're all at a time where we're trying to figure out how can we accomplish more with less. That's it. Businesses exist to do two things: serve their customers and turn a profit. Businesses don't have a cross on the roof, generally speaking. They're not non-for-profits. You need to keep the lights on. So imagine having this tool, this AI tool that is outperforming humans, and you don't have to pay benefits to. And they don't have to pay on payroll, and it can work 24 hours a day. Imagine just having this opportunity and squandering it.
So do you think or what do you think let's say you want to start a business or you're going to increase your business? We talked about ChatGPT, and I know you mentioned a vast amount of other AIs that you can use, but what are some of the most beneficial that you think? If somebody was listening to this and they were like, you know what, I know he spit out a whole bunch of these. I don't know which one's really going to be the best for me. If it's just a small business trying to start up or make something, what are like the best ones that they think that they would go for? For
sure. Yeah, I'll actually I'll give you an example. Why don't we freestyle this for a second? Just give me a business idea. Give me a product. Give me anything. I'll freestyle this. And I'll tell the audience exactly what to ask ChatGPT and how to build a marketing campaign.
Let's say I'll do it myself. I'll do what I'm ambitious about. I'm ambitious about sports.
Okay.
I want to do a training facility.
Okay. So a training facility for what kind of sports?
Youth sports and development and baseball.
Okay. So here's what I would do. I would literally go on ChatGPT and say, what are 5 problems that would cause someone to consider purchasing a membership to a youth sports facility, and see what it says. It may come out with a whole bunch of slop. It may come out with some stuff that's like really, really, really good. So now you have your pain points, because again, people exchange money to solve problems. So now you have the problems that your business solves. Then follow that up and say, what are the consequences of not solving those problems? And if, we had a laptop right here, I would just do it live and get the answers for you. So now you have the problems that make the phone ring in the first place. And then you have the urgency to solve those problems right over here. So now you can actually create a sales campaign. Then we have to figure out who actually experiences those problems so we know who to go after. If I owned a steakhouse, I can have the best product in the world, but if I show the advertisement to a whole bunch of vegans, they're just not going to bite on it. It's the wrong audience. Right product, wrong audience. So I would then ask ChatGPT, give me 5 audiences that are most likely to experience each of those problems. And now you have it. So now all of a sudden you can design a advertising campaign that is laser focused in on one audience that experiences one problem, and you can remind them of the consequences so your message actually sticks.
All right. So ChatGPT.
Yep.
And then if you want to look at designs or something else, is there like one of the ChatGPT is probably the best bet for everything, but visuals, something along those lines.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch.
I know there's like a million. I telling you, like I was saying earlier, if I scroll through Instagram or whatever, a lot of it's AI. Well, do this. And
the one I made of you, you're drinking the beer. Of this?
Was that one through AI?
Yeah, it turns your videos into like whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's so cool.
I was like, there's like a million of them.
Make your own cartoon.
Just basically, any one of them, just you would say to the average person, any one of them, just roll with it. Go or keep searching through the different AIs and find what best suits you or whatever you can find through them.
Well, just to like demystify this, if you want images on ChatGPT, if you have the paid version, which is $20 a month, easily the best $20 a month you'll ever spend.
Yeah.
DALL-E, which is their text to image, is already on there. So you can say, create a logo of X for this industry, and it'll give you some ideas. Now, keep in mind, AI is doing this for you. There's nothing stopping somebody else from having that exact same prompt, the exact same logo as you. So I personally would not do that. I would either do it yourself or hire a graphic designer. That way it's unique.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you run into a whole different set of problems. Now, on the other hand, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more advanced, Midjourney, as far as text to image, it's my personal favorite.
Midjourney, okay.
Midjourney, yeah. So great for prototype designs, great for like before and after pictures, great for avatars. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do on it. It's free with a paid option, much like ChatGPT, but you at least have it there. That way you can get something that's up and running. Canva is my personal favorite as far as like all-in-one marketing, because you can design brochures on it, you can design slide decks, presentations, you can do logos, you can do thumbnails. You do pretty much everything on it. The only thing is, if you're starting out, don't try and do it yourself. Search for a template that you like that is on there and swap out the pictures.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get extremely frustrated.
And stressed out.
Even though I know how to use Canva very well, I became very frustrated over the years learning how to do it because nobody showed me how to do it. And when I tried to look at YouTube videos how to do it, because I am so impatient, I found that it's a 35-minute video that somebody is very boringly explaining. And after 35 to 40 seconds, I'm like, screw it, I don't need to learn it that bad. So start with a template, swap out some colors, and make it your own.
Oh, that's fair.
Like to put the words behind us.
Yeah.
That took 5 years for me to figure out. Like Jesus, it's fun. Everything's fun, but it's part of learning.
I've messed around with a lot of some of the different. I don't have my phone on me. I would spit off the names. We'll talk about it later. But some of the different ones that you see on the advertisement, they're like, oh, it's free. So I've downloaded a bunch of different little AI ones. You obviously put in a couple words and some amazing pictures just come out of nowhere. To me, I love it. I love the times. I love trying to figure it out. I just don't know, or not that I don't know. I just haven't dabbled in it enough yet, and I look forward to it that one day because, one day that's my further on down the road dreams is something I'm
it's a tool.
Interested in, and
sure. It's fun to fool around with too.
And then as you say, like if you don't get with the times, someone else is doing it too. It's basically you got to beat your competition to it and try to use what you can for your advantage. So I'm like,
But it helps
I'm all for
budget,
it.
helps time. Like, why would you pay someone $100,000 to do what
Yeah.
you do yourself?
For sure.
Very
So,
true.
and this is a common, a common thing that gets brought up anytime that I, do a speaking engagement on AI or I'm on a panel or whatever it is. People say, is it going to put people out of work? Yes. The robots are coming for your job. They always have been. There's nothing to hide about that. I mean, dude, we talk about self-checkout
Do
at
you-
the grocery store 15 years ago, I think that is when it came up. I mean, is it putting people out of work? But the market says, I value my time, so I will gravitate towards here. And the people that actually value the good service or a human being will gravitate over here. You're split testing the market. So on the AI side, I truly believe, yes, it will put some people out of work. But for every one person that it puts out of work, it's also never been easier to put on the entrepreneur hat and say, you know what, I'm going to start a business. Never been easier.
It's true.
Do you think, I know the AIs, but with the advance in actual robotics and robots being built, I just saw a video, I forget who put it up the other day, but there's an actual robot coming, like
There's a
laying
bunch of
down,
them
it
out
gets up and it's
Yeah, Boston
basically,
Dynamics.
it's basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, iRobot is coming to a neighborhood
Scary
near
stuff,
you,
man. Very scary stuff.
At what point do you think the AI we experience now will soon be replaced and implemented all throughout actual robotics into, society today?
I honestly don't know, but it's not slowing down anytime
That's a
soon.
whole nother
That's
conversation.
a whole. I
Yeah.
can go way down the rabbit hole with you.
Yeah.
Same thing when it comes to cars. Same thing when it comes to different energy sources. I mean, tying all this stuff in together, stuff gets real questionable real quick.
Yeah, soon you probably don't talk to the car salesman. You talk to like online.
I mean, the reality is, if you take a look at what has already existed for several years, CarMax, I don't know how long it's been around. Let's just say going on 2 decades. It's a successful business. They have their own message to the market, and that is, come in, look, our people are not, commission based. If you want to buy it, cool. If not, no haggle, no harm, no foul. There's a portion of the market that wants that. There's a portion of the market that still prefers the traditional model. There's also a portion of the market that says, no way in hell am I going to a dealership. I'm going to go to Carvana and go and put a quarter in the vending machine and have the thing come down because it's what I want. There's people that prefer the driveway drop-off model. So again, the market says, I want this or I don't. The market right now, I will tell you, is rejecting electric cars. I will also tell you, though, on the new car side, when you integrate ChatGPT style AI that is just blazing fast, it already has the product information and it has all of these things, it really, really, really makes your salesperson's job more of a product specialist role. Because if you can automate all of that stuff on the new car side, because used cars, every one of them is unique, but new car that comes with a warranty, you will still need a person that's there to test drive the car and set up the Bluetooth and go over the new stuff. But I really see the future of the car business going more of a product specialist role. I really do. Where you go to a Tesla store, you go to Lucid. I don't think that these reps are paid commission based. They're more product specialists. And hey, if you want it, great. Here's the price. Option A is we send it to your house. Option B, you pick it up at the store and we go over it with you. They've been trying to do that for years.
Yeah.
It's almost like a TV or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I
Got
never
the one
want
on
to.
display and
Hey, where's the
They're
cheap
like-
one?
Yeah, I never want to use the term commoditized because at the end of the day, everything is unique based off of the person that you're dealing with. No two sales reps are alike. Somebody who has an extensive network and community presence can add a lot of value when it comes to making introductions and being a resource for you should you ever need X, Y, and Z service, or you ever need reservations at a restaurant or something that they have a relationship with. There's always going to be value in the human connection. And I think AI is going to make real human interaction a lot more valuable because the market always wants what it doesn't have. Take this, for example. So how long have both of you lived here in this area in Chicago?
I'm new. I'm since February.
Since February? Okay, how about you?
I've been around town a couple years, yeah.
So the reality is, wind the clock back 3-4 years. COVID madness, 2020, 2021. Now all of a sudden, the service industry, nobody wants to come back to work. I don't know about you, service at almost every restaurant that I went to was awful. So when I would actually get good service and somebody who actually gave a damn about their job, I wasn't tipping 20%. I was tipping 30, 35, 50%, sometimes even more, just by saying, hey, thank you for showing up today and actually caring, because the market was lousy service. So when somebody else decided to zag when the whole world was zigging, you know what? They were compensated accordingly because they were adding a lot more value. I see the same happening in the car business.
Yeah, I remember 6 years ago when I was like, oh, I wanted to be a bartender or be a server. I'm like, how do I get into this? They're like, well, you need experience. Now they're like, can you start now?
Yeah, can you fog a mirror? Yeah, you're right.
Hey, come on. It changes. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. Same with
you can get here on time. It's late, doesn't matter. Just come in.
Medical world too. No training. We'll pay you to train. Can you show up? Well, yeah. Like what? It's crazy.
It's gonna be real interesting to see how things play out these next few years.
Well, then, after all this summed up, what's your next step now? What's going on?
My next step is, now that I'm officially 100% self-employed, is sharing with the world how the Heat Method has changed my life, how they can market themselves on a shoestring budget and ultimately run their business lean.
Nice. That's dope.
Whether that's in one-on-one consulting, whether that's in them buying my course, whatever it is, at the end of the day, what's way cooler than any car that I can sell is helping the little guy win the day.
So your first seminar, you had to been nervous, right?
I was nervous, for sure. Granted, owning a DJ company for over a decade
helps.
And announcing bridesmaids, groomsmen, all of that stuff for, a good portion of my life makes things easier. Doesn't make it any less scary, though.
Yeah, no, every time it's like, oof. But no, that's dope. I'm happy for you. I told you, celebrity, how you doing? I'm so honored. I know this guy. But it's kind of cool. All the people from our high school be like, hey, I know those people. You know what I mean? I'm sure they hit you up sometimes.
You know what? A lot of them I've done business with over the years, selling cars. What I found is when you take care of the community will take care of you.
Especially when you dress up in nice suits. every St. Patrick's Day, green suit.
Every St. Hey, people remember that. By the way, it's good branding right there. That's those suits. By the way, if you've ever seen these ridiculous suits for Christmas, before it was just ugly Christmas sweaters.
Yeah.
Now there's ugly Christmas suits, and they're actually not even ugly. They're tacky, but they're actually very nice. I have several of those, and I used to wear them to the dealership and sell cars, and customers would love to take pictures, afterwards and whatnot. But it sticks. Prime example. I haven't worn one of those in probably 5 years, but you remember?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Damn.
Unless I DJ Northwest Community Hospital's Christmas party, which I usually do every year.
I see you there, I think.
And now it's
I
a
used to work there.
Did you really?
Yeah, I worked there since 2008 to 2016.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I've had that account for a while. So it's now basically become a requirement for me to wear that suit every time that I do it.
Was that like Westwood or something?
It wasn't at Westwood. It was
Wildberry?
No, the Grove in Buffalo Grove. There was Astoria Banquets. They've done one at, and I think I've done that like 7 or 8 times.
Because we have mutual friends, obviously, through the hospital. It's weird. It's like, hey, small world.
Yeah, get around.
No, that's cool. No, I said, well, we'll end it here. The next one will be about aliens and pyramids, and we'll go from there.
I'm all for it.
So
what are your before we go? What are your next events? If anybody's listening and wants to, chime in, listen, or get to one of your events.
Here's what I'll actually do. Just instead of waiting for a live event, I'll just give your audience something, no strings attached. If you go to dropsomeheat.com, fill out the form, I'll send over a free 35-minute live presentation of my most recent one. Again, the topic is how you can market yourself on a shoestring budget by using humor and education. So just go to dropsomeheat.com, fill out the form, let me know where to send it.
Nice. I'll edit that into the video.
That's cool. Hey. When your marketing goes cold, drop some heat.
Bada bing, bada boom.
There you go. I like that.
Thanks for showing up, brother. Okay.
You're welcome, brother. Appreciate it.
Cheers to your water. Okay. Get out of here with your water.
Now it's time for beer.
Hey, let's do it.
It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever mindin' they beeswax. I don't ever cap, but I'm wearing like 3 hats. Never been a rat, but I know where the cheese at. You'll never get a trophy cause they all here where we at. You better believe that. When it's all said and done, I'll still be here standing. Never took a loss and it ain't something that I'm planning. I dare you to say something, my focus is A1. Every dog has its day, it's been mine since day one. This is real grinding, I'm still climbing. While you still trying, I'm still shining. It's real blinding, and I'm getting hotter too. Talking top 2, I'm not a 2. You let the pressure bother you when I do what I gotta do. Let's go hard.